Hi, my name is Karen Holmes. I'm the founder and director of the World Peace Organization for the One World Government. Today I want to do just a short video about two events that are supposed to happen, or one event that's going to happen and another one is an announcement. I just saw that Sanjay Gupta, Dr. Gupta, who's on CNN News, has announced that the Omicron variant is spinning off waves. Its descendants are spinning off their own waves. So let's just say that there is a more rise in the number of cases of COVID again, and it hasn't gone away. It's actually getting worse again, and that puts us into a situation where we have the Democrats who are talking and the Republicans who talked about the solution. The root cause of the problem was the virus, and it's out there someplace, and we have to do something to stop it. Like science is looking at this from a normal standpoint, that a virus is out there in nature and it can get us at any time, and we have to be prepared for it. And it's just one of those things. So they come up with a way with masks and social distancing and hand sanitizer and things like that, and also lockdowns, which is what made the people who are into money and power angry, locking down. So let's say we had originally the idea that there was a virus out there in nature. The scientists didn't know how to do it. They said, we're all prepared for it, and they went out and they locked everything down, and they did social distancing and masks and gloves and everything like that. Okay, and then they waited for the vaccine, and then on a global pandemic, how can you vaccinate every person on the planet? And then in our local newspaper, it said in our county, the county where I live, 90% of the cases, there's more cases, and 90% of them are ones for people who've been previously vaccinated and boosted. They not spin over, the word I'm talking about. They've already been vaccinated and boosted. So now the Republicans are getting angry. The people who want money and power are going, okay, the Democrats are going, we need to stand on the principles. The Republicans are going, we can't shut down the economy. China is shutting down the economy, and people are actually starving to death because of the shutting it down. And there's the ripples of effects, the supply chain and everything. And now what we have is more ripples of effects that are going out, more variants, and what do? Just a segment of the population is always going to be another lockdown, another problem, where did the vaccines come in, and how do we solve this problem? Neither of the ideas address the root cause of the problem. The vaccinations didn't address the root cause of the problem, and keeping the economy open didn't solve the problem either, because neither of those plans address the root cause of the problem. And now we have another problem. The event that's coming up is on May 9th. Vladimir Putin that might be the day he's threatening England with his torpedoes. I've talked about the 4 weapon systems. I think the one I keep forgetting is the drone, but there's the hypersonic missiles, the nesting doll, which goes up into satellites, and it's like one satellite within another, that it comes out and goes out, and it grabs satellites and crushes them. Okay, so and then the other one is the torpedoes that go through the water. They hold nuclear weapons, and then they go up on the land, and basically they're just yesterday Russian television said that they could wipe out England and Ireland at the same time with their nuclear weapons. Okay, so NATO going after him, he's starting to fight again. Now, the thing with that is we're talking about if the root cause of the problem, and as I've talked about in previous videos of the COVID-19, was when it was manifested into the physical. Okay, we were told at the prayer circle, viruses are thought forms that are manifested into the physical. So let's say they reacted out of fear to Trump's trade war policies against China. That's about the time when he was using his maximum pressure to, let's say, try and control, bring back, make it a more fair trade agreement, because previous trade agreements weren't really working for him. So he decided he was going to put tariffs on it and such. Okay, so basically somebody in Wuhan, China, which is an industrial city, basically thought of him, equated his trade war policies with snakes. So now think about Putin under the same circumstances. We have Putin coming back in. We have another set of Omicron, which is one of the variants that came from the Delta, came from India, and that had to do with let's say a combination between darkness and, because it had to do also with from what I understand, a fungus and a virus kind of were together. Okay, I'm not sure about that. But there was like the policies, the snaky policies of somebody. So somebody in Wuhan, China equated Trump with snakes. Okay, and that created the virus. But then look at how many people consider other people to be snakes. You consider, as what's happening now, you think of in India and Modi and all their internal ideas and similar ideas like in other countries, because let's say how many people of Indian descent, India, are basically in the United States, and they're considering what Modi's doing because they might want to go back home. And they're watching all of this internal combustion engines, I'm using that as, that's not an internal combustion engine, but it just seems like it's just ready to explode. It's like a fuel that's going to explode and put pressure on everything. The pistons that drive the economy. The Omicron came from South Africa, and I haven't been watching what behind that, but I know that there's a problem there that's also affecting lots of people in the world. Okay, so now we have the potential for the variants of failed policies, based on failed policies, coming out. And then now with Putin, and he's a snake too, in a way, equating the idea of snake. So we have to unravel the root cause of the problem. We have to come up with a plan that addresses the root cause of the problem, or we make it worse. And that is looking at failed policy, failed foreign policy, failed internal policy, domestic and foreign policy. We have to look at, stop equating people as snakes. We have to start thinking of that to overcome this pandemic that is still spinning off problems. It wasn't, as Trump said, that it would go away in the summertime, kind of like the flu goes away in the summertime. And the reason that the flu goes away in the summertime is because, for one thing, people are not let's say cooped up all the time in an airplane. Okay, it's an avian flu. The flu that he's talking about is an avian flu that has to do with planes, and it has to do with travel in the winter time. How about going home for Christmas and Thanksgiving and in the airplane, and you only have 2 days, so you go by air and everybody's breathing recycled air, and you're going, oh no, here I am again. This is going to shoot me down. I'm going to get sick. And, that kind of thinking is what causes the problems. So what we have to do is come up with a plan that addresses the root cause of the problems. And that is the root cause of the problems. And I'm going to show you something here. he said there was a clue, and I don't know if you're a watchdog, there's a clue here. I'm going to tell you that there was another article that I saw today, and that's what's motivating me to talk about this. There was a clue that the many of the soldiers who were sailors who were on the Moskva were conscripts. Okay, so if you look at why he had all these conscripts and they were so easy to take over and things like that, why were the Ukrainians so easily able to repel them? And it was because they were conscripts. Now, I'm going to give you an idea here. When you think about conscripts, his plan, Putin's plan, appears to me, and I might be wrong, you probably know better than I do, if his plan was to put conscripts in to attack Ukraine. But now what he's doing is he's undermining NATO and the UN and working against the United States because he has these weapon systems. He hasn't pulled out those hypersonic missiles, nesting doll, the torpedoes that can go up onto land 100 miles and wipe out a nuclear weapon, wipe out England and Ireland. They're small islands. Hey, he can go in 100 miles and he can wipe them out. He can just go around. But the United States, if the United States is attacked too, we have maybe another Cuban Missile Crisis coming, and most of our liberal cities, most of the liberals are living in the cities, and all that the red land, the red and blue map, it's all conservative there who are pro-Putin. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about that, and I'm going to say we have a way to solve this problem, okay? So, if he has conscripts, it's like he has slaves. He's outsmarted those people, and he said, well, they're in the military, but his conscripts means that he's just taking average people, putting them in the military uniforms, telling them a lie, putting them in military uniforms, and then sending them out without even any training or any supplies, anything like that. They're like cannon fodder for him. He doesn't have any kind of, from that, if that's his plan, he doesn't have any kind of idea. He has his own agenda, and people are nothing. Okay, so if he has conscripts and he's doing that to his military, and then he's saving the big guns for when he's going after NATO and England and the United States, because we basically have invited Russia into our country by infiltrating into the NRA, the hacking and all the different things, and we've never resolved the issue of Russian interference in our elections, things like that. So now, what we want to do is we have the potential for a hostile takeover of the United States. We can't fight them over there so that we don't have to fight them over here. It's not working anymore. So Putin is a man who appears to be playing the game of lust. And that is not that he lusts after people, like the common idea of lust is, a sexual thing, that it's not emotional, it's just sexual, and it's conquest, and it's push, okay? So but no, the game of lust has to do, it's like a sociopath who basically is afraid, fears being hurt. Okay, so basically what he does, so is he pushes people away and he holds people to them. He'll grab onto conscripts and then he'll push them away. But he fears being, it's like a complex thinking in his own mind. So if that's the case, if I'm true, and he's playing this power game, I read about sociopathy today, and there are people, the article that I read, it said there are people who sociopaths who fit all the warning signs. They fit all of the warning signs, but they can either be born with those signs, or they can be they can pick them up as they get older because of, like, say, traumatic events. They can have latent symptoms, ideas, but it's a power game that's based on the idea of fear of being hurt. Okay, people who fear being hurt in a relationship and they feel they can't get their life, they don't mind killing other people. I had an experience where I was in a mall one time, and I was a shopping mall, and I was with some of my friends. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but as I was in the mall, I was with my friends, and we were having a wonderful day. It was a Saturday afternoon, and lots of people there, and I burst out crying in the mall. I was picking up this emotional, just flood of emotions that somebody was giving off. And by the time I started crying, and I said, I got to go home. People were worried about me. And by the time I got home, the phone was ringing. And one of my friends who was there, he said they had wandered off after I left. We were standing next to a kiosk. And when I got there, when I got home, he told me that 5 minutes after I left and they were down at the other end of the mall, a young man had broken in, or had come in, shot his ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend, and she was pregnant. So then he went out into the parking lot. By the time I got halfway home, it was over. It was like, that's weird. That's a totally weird thing. So I was picking up that guy's emotions, and then it stopped when he shot himself out in the parking lot. So I have a feeling that people who kill other people are doing it because they feel that their life has been taken away from them. They can't, they're trying to, let's say, get even with somebody else for taking away their life. All right, so now, what people who play this game of, people who have this idea that their life has been taken away from them, and that that's when they start killing, basically. But they play this game because they are afraid of being hurt. They can't deal with the hurt. And so they hold people to them and they push them away. If they're pushing people away, it can lead to slavery or conscription, you could say, or then allowing them to be murdered. And then he said, but people who play this game weave an illusion. Okay, this is the game of lust. These two games here, power games, are based on weaving an illusion. When the pendulum swings out with the conflict, these three games, lust, or pride, greed, and anger, these lead to war, massacres, and terrorism. This pendulum swings back because they're easier to deal with. You can open a dialogue, or you can allow a sense of abundance. Okay, he said, take away the idea that it's based on greed. The game doesn't work when people lose everything. And then the pride is where they do it for lack of respect, lack of abundance, and then lack of a voice. And you can put those voices back in by addressing the root cause of that problem. To get rid of terrorism, you just give people a voice. To get rid of lust and envy, he said, the illusion, you still have to deal with the illusion. Okay, now, and Moses, for example, that you think of genocides being associated with the Jews and the Hebrews. Okay, that is, Moses basically understood when he went to talk to Pharaoh, and the idea when the Pharaoh's priests had their staffs and they turned them into snake. Well, he could do the same thing, the snake and the staff. Okay, Moses could do the same thing. He understood how the games are played. Okay, so now what happens is the people who play this game, sociopaths, get revenge. So Putin is, not Donald Trump, Putin is playing the game of revenge. He's working to undermine NATO, for example, and the United Nations. He's getting revenge, he's retaliating, and there's a chance, according to May 9th, that he's going to start a war. But we're talking about this. So what he wants, he said, if we can stop these by addressing the root cause, a voice and abundance, because he doesn't have it. He said these sanctions are causing problems. Remember when he went to see, when his Veselnitskaya, I think she was, the woman who went to the Trump Tower, the attorney, and she was talking about cutting out the sanctions. He's playing this game. He's playing the game of revenge to get a combination of greed and a voice. He said, so that's why this hurts so much, for the sanctions and to be left out of events. Trump wanted him to be able to be included in the G20, or which was G9, G20 or whatever. Okay, so he wanted him to have a voice and abundance. Okay, so this idea is this, but the games don't work. You cannot just, if somebody wants something, you cannot just keep giving it to them. They have to reach the point where they go like this and then come down and come out again. If you take somebody who is a sociopath and give that person money and give that person a voice, basically all it does is it feeds the game. It's like giving an alcoholic alcohol, or drug user who's trying to get off it. You have to get off of it. You have to go hit the bottom, and then you have to come back up again. It doesn't work just to give Vladimir Putin money to end the sanctions. He's now going to very likely retaliate against this, and he's threatening England and Ireland and the NATO, you can say the NATO countries. He's trying to collapse the NATO countries. He's capable of having another Cuban Missile Crisis in Cuba, because Russia has infiltrated, and then he can deal with the torpedoes here in the United States. It's time now to address this idea that if today is the 4th, we have 5 days to stop a global war. So I ask that you like, share, and subscribe, and help me introduce the idea of the exit strategy for Iraq, which is where disputes between nations will be settled in court rather than the battlefield. Okay, so there has to be a way for people to be able to get out of this crisis, and we can take NATO and the United Nations can take him to court. We can threaten to take him to court. They can stop the sanctions, but he's hit the point now where enough is enough. Okay, what he has to give up the revenge, and we are going to look at where true power comes from in the books that are associated with the exit strategy for Iraq. Okay, so our first government proposal is the exit strategy for Iraq. And rather than point out Putin as being somebody who's really bad, we don't have to go through a COVID. We don't have to go through that peak and everything. We can just look at the idea of the exit strategy for Iraq, and that disputes will be settled in court, and we're going to set Putin aside for a little while. Yeah, Putin, you're equal to everybody else. Equality, liberty. The people have their rights. You don't have the right to send your slaves into war, killing those people, and then not listening to their voices. Okay, to get a voice, you have to allow everybody to have a voice. To get abundance, you have to allow everybody to get abundance. Okay, so this is where we are now, and disputes between nations will be settled in court rather than the battlefield. And instead of England, let's say that's south, so I'm pointing the wrong direction. Okay, let's see, that's east. Okay, so that way east, or how about we just go through over the North Pole? England is going to be the place. Instead of being blown up, what we're going to do is we're going to look at all the proposals. We're going to say, if Russia wants to make it to the conference in Europe, rather than blowing up all these other countries, they're just going to wipe Putin out or whatever. The people in his country who don't want war with England, or NATO, and don't want to kill off half the population of the planet in a global war. Basically, I'm not advising anybody to kill anybody, that's not my intent at all. But that's outside of what I say. I don't condone anybody killing people. I would like to see everybody get their life, and the way to do that is by looking at where true power comes from. This is the body of knowledge that is associated with the exit strategy for Iraq. Okay, and then what has to happen is the next set comes in, and that is assuming responsibility for helping to set up the structure associated with that. So you don't have to, I ask that you put it in your prayers. I ask that you consider this. If you start the prayer circle, you can start the prayer circle, and that's on, I'll put the link down below. The prayer circle format is down below in the comment box. And then I will ask you to go on the website and to get look at the exit strategy for Iraq. Now this had to do, this is not the actual proposal right now. This was the proposal that was originally offered to Saddam Hussein to help him. If that had gone through in 2003, then we would not have any of these problems right now. We would have stopped everything before it got into a war. So we're talking about failed policy, and the first failed policy is regime change and maximum pressure and revenge. We're going to talk about revenge, how it works, why it doesn't work, and we're going to talk about the 7 deadly sins and revenge, and all of these ideas are associated with this government proposal. So that's my focus. As I have been dealing with the hostile takeover of my organization, I've been dealing with a character defamation campaign for 15 years, okay? And now it's time for us to understand where true power comes from. You can't get your life by playing the games. You can't get your life by killing somebody. If you were that young man who committed suicide after he shot his girlfriend and the guy because he hit her new boyfriend because he couldn't bear the fear, understanding that relationships, when they go different directions, that doesn't mean you can't get your life. You don't have to kill somebody and then kill yourself because you're in so much pain. Basically, we're going to be the next one. We're going to be starting the crisis center for people to go into. Okay, so that's all I wanted to say today. I know this is a very dire situation, but there's a way out of it. And Archangel Michael told us that the difference between heaven and hell is that in heaven there's a solution to your problems. So we don't have to be in hell anymore. We can actually start to work our way out of this, looking at failed policies. And so right now, we're, like I said, the Democrats, and focusing on the vaccines aren't working anymore. It doesn't address the root cause of the problem. In fact, we're still dealing with Spanish flu year after year after year. We have to address where the root cause problem of pandemics are. We also have to look at the fact that you cannot solve the problem by just saying, we're going to work through this and it's going to be gone by spring, because it isn't going away. That doesn't solve the problem either. So we have to address the root cause of the problem. And the root cause of the problem is revenge, how it works and why it doesn't work. So we're all going to become experts. Today I'm going to work on my website again. I've been working on making it better. I'm going to put information on it for each of the books and that. Can't sell my books to anyone but independent members. I have to bring in, the next person is supposed to help me bring in the professional publishing team, and so far that person has just been running around putting out forest fires. So we don't have a crisis center yet, and we don't have a professional publishing team, and we just have hostile takeovers and character defamation, which comes from the game of envy. And the people who play that game, character defamation is a form of genocide, okay? And that has to do with, they do it to get respect and abundance. Okay, so this is a very, very remarkable thing that tells us what people want and how they're doing it. But what I'll do is I will just give you enough information on it's part of the Power Series books, which are associated with the exit strategy for Iraq proposal. Okay, So I will have that on my website later today. I have to go through each of the books and put them back on again. I can't sell you my books though, but you can read the catalog is a resource in itself. So I ask that you like, share, and subscribe because this is important. Help us stop the war. Oh, and I'll put on the prayer circle format on at suzeranda.org, which is where I started back. It's HTML4, and it's the oldest, crappiest looking website, but that's how old all that stuff is. It's from like 2000 to 2003, but information is still valid on there, including the prayer circle format, but it's like, go on there and find out all the interesting stuff that's available on there. So, okay, that's it for now.